this might be the last Big Brain Time podcast of the year. Because Christmas break is coming, and I live in a different country from these boyos.
And we don't really live close to each other.
Yeah.
Not that close.
No.
But this may be... We're going to make it good, even though we're down one co-host.
We are down one Jared. It's quite the tragedy.
Sad.
All of the, I feel like if Donald Trump was in the group, that's what he would say. Just, sad.
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 Well, he'd say
Wrong.
it like 1,000 times. It's so sad. It's so extremely sad.
Well, I was thinking of his Twitter. I wasn't even thinking about his speech patterns.
Yeah, but if he were speaking here, that's
You're right.
No.
Honestly, he would take up probably the entire time just talking about that one thing.
Sad.
All right. So, this is a topic that me and Ira don't quite know what to do with. I was planning to do research on this week, and that didn't happen. So, Kyle, tell us the topic.
Okay, so today's topic is whether or not Big Bird from Sesame Street, beloved Sesame Street character, should be considered a kaiju. Now, you may be wondering, Kyle, what is a kaiju? Well, a kaiju is just a name for what essentially is a giant monster, like something like King Kong or Godzilla. So
it's usually attributed to Godzilla or the Pacific Rim monsters.
Yes.
Well, I mean, they're literally called that in Pacific Rim anyway, so...
Yeah. I'm going to argue against.
We're going to argue against?
Yeah, Big Bird's not a kaiju.
Okay. I'm going to argue for.
All right.
And I'll just put in my input however I feel like it, depending on how the conversation goes.
It's going to be fun.
All right. I saw something that I want to double check before I start with my first and probably worst argument. Let's see here. Oh, that's interesting. It says kaiju is a film genre.
It kind of is, sort of.
So
So it's also a term.
I wouldn't... Okay, are we going to just focus it in on the term? Or are we going to argue that Sesame Street is within the kaiju genre? Huge subversion there.
We could do both.
So
don't have to.
My first argument is, where are the nuclear weapons in Sesame Street?
That's a really good question. I don't know what Oscar's hiding in that trash can, but...
Yeah, I was about to say, that's... you never know what's in there.
Oh, no. All right. The other thing...
Or the kind of stuff Elmo's got cooked up somewhere.
Elmo's got cooked up in Elmo's world.
All right, so a kaiju, according to Wikipedia, which has so far given me two arguments, because there's the film genre and then this one.
Yeah.
Kaiju, or Japanese monster movies, is a Japanese genre of movies which feature giant monsters. I think that's an argument probably in your corner, because he is a pretty big bird.
He is a pretty big bird.
But the other monsters are not particularly big.
No, they're not. Well, what about, what's his face? Snuffleupagus?
Snuffleupagus. Okay. Ira, do you think 2 is an acceptable number of monsters for it to be considered a kaiju film?
Or for the two characters to be considered kaiju?
Oh, no, that's not what I asked.
Oh.
I asked if all the smaller monsters, if that counts.
Okay. Here, I'll wait for my argument then. I'll wait.
I'd say 2 would probably be good enough, to be honest. Or 1 and a big giant robot.
That's true.
Give me a sec. I'm going to Google if there are any big robots in Sesame Street.
I don't think they have anything as cool as Mecha Godzilla, but...
All right. I have made 2 arguments, and I haven't even gotten to my terrible one yet. Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, so, kaiju, roughly translated in Japanese, means strange beast. Now, I'm sitting here, and you take a look at Big Bird. I think he looks pretty strange, don't you? He's got these big googly eyes looking at you. He doesn't really look like a bird. I really just strange looking. So I mean, in the proper term, I think he's a strange beast.
He looks like he hasn't slept in weeks.
That's true.
He's going through finals week.
Oof.
Finals week on Sesame Street.
So, I would say, with your statement that there needs to be some kind of a robot, here is Sam the robot. Audience, do yourself a favor and Google image this thing and think about this thing in a battle with Snuffleupagus. They probably hug it out in the end.
Sesame
it is
Street.
Sesame Street.
Sesame Street. Gotta hug out all your arguments.
Aw, that's good. So, yeah.
Interesting. But that's my argument. I think he's a strange beast. So therefore, I think he's a kaiju.
I mean, you could kind of make that argument for a lot of the monsters on Sesame Street, to be honest. They're all strange beasts.
They are.
In their own way.
Yeah.
In their own little way.
And I believe that they are actually officially defined as monsters. Sesame Street creatures. And indeed, they are referred to as monsters, at least according to Muppet Wikipedia. Muppet Wiki. So, but I, despite that being pretty good evidence for your side, I will counter and say... Kaiju, the term kaiju can refer to the giant monster themselves, which they're depicting. Oh, wait. Oh, no. My terrible argument. Where did it go?
It has flown the coop, so to speak.
It's a giant monster. I thought it could literally translate to green monster, and I was going to argue about his size, but I can't do that now.
I mean, Big Bird is big. Most kaiju are grown out of proportion monsters.
I thought it was going to be green.
Typically, you know how in, kaiju movies, there's always something getting destroyed, like a city and stuff, because of how large they are? Well, sometimes accidents can happen with Big Bird with his size fitting into those small spaces. So, in a way...
over some flowers in the flower shop.
He's a kaiju because he's causing destruction due to his size.
I can't argue against this. It's too good. And also, if you think about King Kong, it depends on the version you watch, but in a lot of those, he's motivated by love. He's not inherently trying to destroy things. He's not angry per se till stuff starts shooting at him. So, in that way, he's a little bit comparable to Big Bird, just driven by curiosity and friendliness.
You know what? You're right.
Wait, does King Kong... Is he generally counted as a kaiju?
Yes. Well, American kaiju, yes.
American
kaiju. He was in a film with Godzilla, so most people do count that.
And, the Universal... Is it Universal or...
who's
got the
Warner
kaiju
Bros?
movies, right? Yeah,
Warner Bros.
Yeah, Warner Brothers. They're definitely going to make that movie sometime in the near future. So
it's coming. We're just waiting for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what's wrong with saying that Big Bird is just a giant monster who's misunderstood and just wants to fit in with the rest of Sesame Street?
So. I don't know enough about the kaiju to argue this. However, it does seem that the history of kaiju film is deeply interlaced with the concept of nuclear weaponry. And I don't think that Sesame Street is in any way. Because if you go back to the original Godzilla, it appears that plot is very heavily, very much an allegory basically shaming America for using so many nuclear weapons.
Essentially shaming everybody for using nuclear weapons to a point.
Yeah, and then you go over to Pacific Rim, and of course we have big gung-ho monsters big robots powered by nuclear monsters to fight the Japanese created monsters. So it seems that no matter where you are on the cultural spectrum, the whole, what is generally associated with kaiju, whether it's pro or against, it usually has some element pertaining to nukes and to nuclear energy and to those kinds of questions.
Although the modern films tend to touch more on environmentalism, although of course nuclear weapons is a big part of that. So nukes not good for the environment.
Where
generally.
Generally.
Where's the nuclear testing in Sesame Street?
It's a very good question, and like I said, we gotta check Oscar's garbage can. But
I just realized something.
What?
A pro argument that you could use. Which is that what if they're all nuclear mutations? And that's where the monsters came from.
Yeah, what if? What if? What if that's just Sesame Street is like a refugee home for all these nuclear victims?
You guys are just
Big Bird is
Sesame
if
Street
Big Bird is
more
abnormally large because of the mutations. He was a normal sized bird, but because of nuclear mutations.
He's technically a chick, if I remember correctly.
He's like the Ninja Turtles. You know how they just kind of turn into human beings and then. Yeah.
I mean, that's more due to like biochemicals, but not like biohazard chemicals.
Nonetheless, mutation enough.
But still, radiation. You know,
okay. Godzilla's just a mutated dinosaur.
Okay. And my other thing I was gonna tie into that is the theory that SpongeBob, that all those sea creatures, the only reason why they're alive and so forth is nuclear radiation, because Bikini Bottom was a real life atomic testing site.
I was gonna say, can I say this?
Do it.
There's a theory out there, because Bikini Atoll is where they tested the H-bomb, and the H-bomb is what inspired the first Godzilla movie. So Godzilla and SpongeBob, because Bikini Bottom takes place at a Bikini Atoll, that they were born at the same place.
That is fantastic.
And therefore their universes are connected.
I can't argue against this.
Of course, we're not arguing SpongeBob today. We're arguing Jim Henson's classic kid show, Sesame Street.
Yeah. So, I would say... Oh, that doesn't work.
I guess I kind of ended up more on a pro argument here because I can't think of anything against, really.
I've got another argument in the back, but let's keep talking this out just a little more because I think we're doing good where we are right now. So
yeah, I was going to argue that it's not the same as Kaiju because it seems that where Godzilla came from was this whole nuclear thing, and the Sesame Street monsters. Like if you look at like they're in the same universe as the Muppets, it seems.
Yeah.
And we see Kermit back in the 70s just hanging out in a swamp and everybody's just chill with it. And the fact that it's so chill in this timeline means it must have happened so far back for society to completely be okay with talking animals and so forth. So I was going to argue that because there was no inciting event and this is just an alternate timeline, then they can't be considered kaiju. But we already established that King Kong is a kaiju, and King Kong has simply existed since however long.
Kong's just been on an island.
Yeah, so if that's a world where animals are simply always there, then, you know, and King Kong is in a universe where it's always there, and King Kong's a kaiju, then I think it stands to decent reason that the Sesame Street monsters are also kaiju.
Or at least Big Bird is, because he's big. But
Yeah, yeah, he fits the more classical definition of kaiju.
Maybe
not classical, but common definition.
I think then we could branch into an argument that perhaps Elmo, for instance, would not be a kaiju.
You could, because he's small.
And
he's a monster, but he's not a kaiju, per se, maybe.